I think playing Fnatic is gonna be really scary for me. I think I'm gonna be nervous on that game.
Last year was Reckless, Yellowstar, XPK, SWAS. Everyone was the same teammates. There will be something extra there. Even if you say there's not, there's always this thing that you're like, I just want to win even more, you know?
You have a lot of hype. You don't want to disappoint people.
So I think both teams will put their best to win. They are not gonna want to lose to the whole team.
Some of the Fnatic players against the other half of the Fnatic players. What are you going to root for, you know?
Studios in Berlin, Germany, where the action is ramping up as we kick off week 4 of the summer split. The crowd is hyped and ready to go for our big matches today. As you can see, the studio is packed and everyone is ready to go. A lot of fans waiting outside just a moment ago. Some OG fans there looking to cheer for that team in Game 3, that is versus Fnatic, and their Giants playing a little bit of football. I bet they're smelling good doing it as well as at this point. Wow, some great moves. And their Gambit, on the other hand, talking some strats with Sean's, their new coach, of course, gearing up for that very first game of the day. Their Betsy goes to Pepper, talking a little bit to his AD carry Forgiven, and their Pyra getting a little bit of powder, and the Fisho putting the moves on whoever. Well, anyway, I'm Ifje, Shock supporter at the helm of the analyst desk, and here to lend a hand this week is Season 1 World Champion Lauri, Cyanide happening, as well as our very own Mitch Kreppel Voorspools, and Trevor Quickshot Henry.
I just want to say that I really look forward to see all the good Fnatic members back on stage, and Lauri here, I guess.
Yes.
Well, not quite ready to go yet, but as the halfway point of the split draws closer, let's take a look at those standings. They're no longer the same, no longer OG and Fnatic undefeated at the top, but Fnatic there, 6-0, followed by H2K and Origen at 5-1.
I just think it's a bit surprising that suddenly H2K is among those teams in the top 3. Everybody was always looking at Fnatic, at Origen, undefeated, but everybody seemed to forget about H2K.
Yeah, then looking a little bit deeper in the table, Giants, who have been on an absolute surge with some other teams not being able to find their footing. I'm thinking of SK, I'm thinking of Elements.
Yeah, I think on the side of the bottom half of the table, for teams like Gambit, Elements, Rocket, they're still trying to find their footing, still trying to figure out what's working. And for SK, they've got to fix what's broken because there's so many problems within the team. They're losing multiple games based on different reasons. So 0-6 could be one of the worst starts to a split for SK.
Yeah, Cyanide, what's your impression of the standings? OG, of course, maybe unexpected at some, but at the top of the tables.
I did expect Origen to do good, of course, because my bros XPK and SOAS being there, so I believed in them all along. And of course, Giants doing pretty well as well, like 4-2. And of course, SK and Gambit just very, very disappointing.
Yeah, we will see how that turned up today. We do have some bit of news on the front of Rocket as they have changed their AD carry. Mr. Rawls is now in there instead of Woolite. They did pick up another winner there last week when they were still with Woolite, but they found it more important to change their AD carry going into this week, Kreppel.
Yeah, just Rawl is joining right now in for Rocket. It's just a safer version, I feel, of Woolite, and that's what they needed. They don't need any more flashy plays because they have moments of brilliance, but I feel, yeah, they were dropping the ball in the mid-to-late game with Woolite in particular.
I think so too. It's good to see Mr. Riles back. He did play with MYM in the previous split. He was actually playing with Wicked's team Denial, who just recently qualified for the Challenger Series. So Mr. Riles has been keeping up in terms of competitive play, and we'll see if he can perform to a satisfactory level for Rocket on stage.
Yeah, I'm actually really excited to see this new Rocket as well, because I feel like half the games Rocket lost was just because of Woolite standing on a lane and getting caught or just running in a team fight. So with Mr. Alice, maybe they can have some more satisfying performances.
Yeah, we will see. They have a lot to play with as they have patch 5.11 hitting in what they're playing on today. One of the biggest things in there is, of course, the LeBlanc nerf.
Yeah, it really is a big change, but not to damage. So the missile speed on LeBlanc's Distortion, her W's been dropped relatively significantly. It means that she can be targetable when she tries to jump in and burst you, and it allows their opponent some counterplay. Keep in mind that damage has not been altered, so if somebody is a very confident, comfortable LeBlanc player, I still think we could see her, just not the same amount. She was banned 19 times out of the last 30 games.
Yeah, and we also saw in 5.11 right now a little bit of a tweak on Caitlyn. her headshot got changed a little bit to penetrate more bonus armor. So for later in the game, that will deal a lot more damage. And you might see the likes of Forgiven finally picking her back up because she's that high range, 80 carry bully that he might use to get that advantage, play that signature Forgiven push and poke style. But in addition to that, we can't forget Ryze. Ryze so far, and you talked about bans earlier, LeBlanc was banned a little bit, but Ryze has been banned or picked every single game since his buff. And I played a couple of games with Solo Q earlier today and just showed me again why Ryze is such a monster, and you really don't want to give that away unless you have a counter ready.
Yeah, and the other thing that is also going to be interesting to note is the fact that Gragas and Rek'Sai went unchanged this patch. And, we did see a small nerf to Gragas last week. It didn't affect him. Still 100% picked or banned in the European LCS. And I'm going to be interested to see how the priorities change in 5.11, considering some of these picks have been modified a bit.
Yeah, and I'm quite sure that Gragas Rek'Sai is going to be a high priority in our game of the week, Fnatic versus Origen at this Game 3. And before we get to the rest of the schedule, let's see what the pros in the EU LCS think of this marquee matchup.
Origen against Fnatic, two of the best teams in EU LCS.
I don't know. I think, I don't know, it's just a match we're all waiting for. Like, we just want to see it,
I mean, obviously Origen has probably the best chance in Europe to beat Fnatic right now, but I still think Fnatic is a better team. I'm pretty excited to see the 1v1 in that lane.
It's like a revenge kinda, like, you left me but I'm gonna beat you because now my team is stronger.
Yo creo que el duelo entre Fnatic y Origen no se decidirá ni en el top ni en el medio, creo que va a ser más entre botlanes, porque la botlane que salga ganadora va a reventar a la otra.
Fnatic versus them will be a bloodbath, I think, but overall Fnatic will come out ahead.
I still think Fnatic overall are the better team.
Yeah, as winner of this, might be considered the best team in Europe, but they still have to face H2K to prove themselves.
I'm just joking.
Well, a lot of the pros calling it for Fnatic there. You, of course, have some super special insight into both of the teams, so what's your prediction?
It's gonna be super exciting. Like I'm so hyped for this match, seeing like the bot side of my old team playing against the top side. Of course, the Brad Pitt lookalike jungler is missing, which is kind of disappointing, but we have him here, so.
We will see, but we do have a full slate of matches today, starting with the Giants versus Gambit, and then Elements versus Roccat, as said, our game of the week there, OG Fnatic, and we're going to be ending up today with the Copenhagen Wolves versus H2K. And with Cyanide on the desk this week, we wanted to share him with you folks at home in the Twitterverse. Tweet at LOL Esports throughout the day with the hashtag AskCyanide, and we'll pick his brain later in the day. And if you have a question?
I actually do. I want to know how actively you're watching LCS at the moment, because you've seen you streaming. I know you were in DreamHack last weekend, but are you keeping up with all of the teams in summer and spring and whatnot?
I try to watch most of the games, like the most exciting one, of course, like Origen Fnatic. So I probably watch like around 80% of the games. So sometimes, of course, I'm playing at the same time or whatnot, but I follow.
That game hasn't happened yet, so you're saying you're watching nothing?
You're saying Origen and Fnatic games.
Sorry. Anyway.
I can also see the future.
Oh, okay. Ooh, there we go. But for now, it is time to look at our very first matchup, which pits Giants Gaming up against Gambit. And we're going to start with a look at the 4-2 Giants on the blue side. Warlip, Frederick, Pepinero, Adri, Godfred, and Lothar. So they went 1-1 in week 3, and what we mainly remember is the fact that versus Fnatic, that big matchup for them, they decided to go for a role swap, which didn't work out. Just to illustrate, usually they are 1,700 gold ahead on average at 20 minutes. Versus Fnatic, they were 7,000 down at 20 minutes. You could say that was a failed experiment.
Yeah, and not only a failed experiment, I just feel like it was a missed opportunity. When you finally get against a team that is on paper so much better than you, both in like micro and macro level play, you just want to see how far away you are from them. I would have liked to see Giants play their signature style, try their hardest, maybe even pull out a win and just see how close they can get. And then, okay, if you swap, then at least go full cheese. They went Lucian and Lulu in different roles. That just ruined it for everybody, because Adri didn't leave a mark. Pepinero, he got 1 kill, but that was mostly due to a misplay of the Fnatic bottom lane, in my opinion. So just disappointing for Giants. I would have liked to see them try harder and see just how big the difference is right now, because we don't know how good Giants are at the very moment.
And definitely squandered opportunity. You should make the most of those. I do remember you guys with the old Fnatic going for quite a risky role swap a long time ago.
It wasn't that risky because, you know, we were playing against this guy, so we knew we would win anyway. But so yeah, we had role swaps. Actually, Soas went as Blitzcrank bot lane, and Yellowstar went top Shen, I think. So that worked out pretty well for us. Like, Soas totally carried that game. That was the time when Forgen was the Anivia God. So every time he was just putting a wall, he was getting hooked, and then the wall kind of backfired.
Yeah, I can't believe who does that, you know, swap roles, puts a Blitzcrank on the bottom lane played by somebody else, you know, and then hypothetically put another Anivia God in the mid lane. Yeah, that just sounds so
one
weird.
Game. You won one game as an
100% win rate.
Every day.
Stats don't lie.
Yeah. The nice trip down memory lane here. For now, though, we got to concentrate on the teams that are very relevant as of now. Giants, as said, they have the good run so far, but we have to look at how strong they really are, knowing the teams they've beat so far: SK, Copenhagen Wolves, Roccat, and Elements.
Yeah, and when you look at those 4 teams, the combined tallies of their records in the Summer Split is 5 and 19. So what that means is the teams that Giants are currently beating are predominantly losing the vast majority of their matches. So yes, it's great for Giants, but it does mean they've got a few more challenging games ahead of them. Gambit have been looked a little bit scarier, who they are facing today. They still also have to play H2K and UOL, who are still above them in the tables. So let's see how Giants are going to handle themselves against some of the stronger teams higher up.
Yeah, as said, their very first test is up right now versus Gambit. So let's take a look at what they're up against exactly. It's Cabochard, Diamond Prox, Betsy, Forgiven, Gosu Pepper, and their coach Sean. So they're on the up and up finally, probably for Gambit fans. They did have that 2-0 last week. Slight improvement across the board for everyone, but the biggest thing was Diamond giving his attention to more than one lane.
I think so too, and I think Diamond has been a player this year especially who has been more hit and miss. He's either had game-winning performances or he's had game-losing performances, itemization, champion choices. These are a lot of things we've been questioning of Diamond, but last week in particular, I liked his focus on some of the other lanes. I like the fact that for the first time on Friday's games, he actually went back to helping out Cabochard, who was playing on Gragas at the time. And I just think it's good to see Diamond when he's playing well, but he needs to find that rhythm more frequently.
Yeah, well, you say Diamond Prox, I say Cabochard. I think his improvement and his progress from week 2 to week 3 was such a massive change. And yes, one game we had the signature Diamond Prox is camping Cabochard, but you see right here as well, his KDA went from less than 1 all the way up to 8.0 KDA, and then his kill participation in addition to that later on also increased. Even though one game, yes, he had Diamond Prox camping for him, but the other game he was playing solo split push, you know, one man driving the map, and he's actually what started the map movements for Gambit, and it made them seem like they actually had more of an idea what they were doing on the map, you know, split push-wise, macro play-wise. So I really hope they can continue that trend coming into this week.
Yeah, I like that you mentioned the macro play, because obviously 2-0 last week doesn't mean that all the problems are fixed. They did take a really long time to beat out Copenhagen Wolves there. Still, in the bigger scheme of things, a lot to work on, but they did get their coach. Sean's now is going to stay with them, is, well, appointed steadily.
It really is, and I think you can actually see the improvement that Sean's has had, especially in the picks and bans phase for Gambit. From week 2 to week 3, there were some very big problems in week 2. They looked a lot better in week 3. I also think from a decision-making, the Thursday to Friday victories, Gambit also looked better with a one-day turnaround. So with Sean's being more settled in, we heard from Forgiven's interview at the end, he was praising Sean's ability in and out of game, and we just need to see a little bit more time. It's week 4 now. They've got some wins, maybe a little bit more confidence as well.
Yeah, Shouns is also a jungle main, so it might help Diamond as well. Like you said, he's doing different stuff. He's not like randomly picking something strange and feeding, so maybe he helped a bit with that.
We will see. In any case, pivotal matchup for both Gambit and Giants in this one. While some may think that Gambit hasn't caught up to their new AD carry yet, their mid laner Betsy thinks it's actually the other way around.
I don't think we're adapting to him, actually. He's adapting to the meta, and like he plays Sivir right now, and he's trying to learn new champions, which is good. You need to give him some farm, because it's like his role. But other than that, I think he's doing fine, and he's adapting to our team instead of us adapting to him.